friends. Happy Friday. We've made it through another week and here we are again with a new project to finish out your work week and give you some inspiration to carry on into your weekend. So, how is everyone? Always start with the small talk. You know how it is. Got to let everybody kind of filter in first before we get right into the project. But I will tell you a little bit about today's project as we are letting everybody come on in. So today's project is one that, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of weird. It's not that it's a weird project, it actually turned out really beautifully. It's just very, very unique. This might not be everybody's cup of tea. That's okay, because what I'm showing you really is the techniques and just giving you some jumping off places, right, where you can take the idea and then translate it into your own jewelry design. So if you don't love the pendant, that's okay. At least I'm going to show you some different things that are possible with cup chain, because cup chain is one of those things. We're using cup chain, by the way, if I forgot to mention that part. Cup chain is one of those things that I feel like a lot of people get stumped with, right? Because you look at it, there's no end pieces, it's just the cups. And so a lot of people, I feel like, don't use cup chain nearly as much in their designs, even though it's beautiful, but they struggle with figuring out ways to incorporate it into their jewelry making in ways that make sense. So we're going to work a little bit on that. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Joan. Emily. Seeing everybody here. There's Joan, Suzanne, Betty. So glad to see you guys. And there's Miss Lena. Hey, Lena. Speaking of Lena, you guys, Lena is a really amazing designer, by the way. She works for John Bead. She's one of my design friends. Love her. She is so sweet and super honest, which I love. I love real people. If you guys don't follow her on Instagram, go do that. Don't do that yet. Wait till we're finished here. But then go follow her on Instagram because her jewelry designs are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I am always inspired to see all of the beautiful things that Lena comes up with. So you guys follow her. She's fantastic. As a matter of fact, if you guys have your own Instagram pages, share those. Let's follow each other, right? And share the creativity and share the love. I'm all about that. So drop a link with your Instagram or your Instagram username so that we can all follow each other. It's a really great way to get inspiration because it's photo-based. If you're not part of Instagram, it's photo-based. It's not like Facebook where you like update a status and you have all these words and you have to think of something, catchy or witty to add. Instagram's not like that. So check it out. Check it out if you can. So back to the project. So we're going to be using some cup chain. We're going to be using some flat artistic wire, and Lena says she's blushing. Lena, don't blush. You are such an amazing designer. It's just not even funny. You guys follow John Bead too, because that's another place where you can see Lena's beautiful work. It's amazing. So we're using flat artistic wire, we're using cup chain, and we're going to use some of the Galentine's Day beads from Jesse James Beads. I'm going to show you guys the strand Forever Friends, but we're actually using some of the beads from Close to My Heart. Just looking to make sure that I get those names right. It comes in a bundle, or you can buy these separately. We're not going to use anything from the strand, but the strand is really, really beautiful. So I did want to hold it up and show it to you guys so that you could see it. Yesterday we used the red, black, and white bead strand. This one is more of a pinky with different shades of pink and then the cream, and there is little pops of black here and there throughout like the boho beads and on the ends, so you can definitely work your black into this. And then the little two-tiered mini mix has some tencha beads in it, which I love. I love tencha beads, right? And the bottom tier has some other beads in it, and that's what we're going to be using. We're just using a handful of beads from that, but it's definitely worth mentioning because it is a really beautiful collection. So if you haven't checked that out over on Jesse James Beads, definitely do that as well. And the the cup chain that we are using is Rosewater Opal. And it's hard to see here, but it is a really, really beautiful pinky color that goes along really well with the beads that we're using. And you can also find that over on Jesse James Beads as well. Now, as far as the flat artistic wire, so artistic wire is from Beaded. I'm pretty sure you can get one of the sizes. Sorry, the packages are a little poppy. I'm pretty sure you can get one of these over on Jesse James Beads, because I think we carry one of the sizes, but it does come in 2 different sizes. So I was just going to show you the packaging before we get started. It comes in different colors. We're using the antique brat. Well, no, we're using the gold color. They're very, very similar. And actually, I may have the gold color accidentally in this package. You know how it is. I just put things back wherever I find a place for them to fit. Anyway, it comes in 3mm and it also comes in 5mm. We're going to use the 5mm because, let me show you, it is just a little bit wider. I'll just hold them both up so you can kind of see the difference before we get down on the mat. So let's see here. What's a good representation here so that you can see it. So the 5mm is this one, and this, obviously, the smaller one is the 3mm. The 3mm is the perfect size to wire wrap cup chain, just a single strand of cup chain onto. That's why I love the flat artistic wire. But this 5mm is enough room for 2, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do some cup chain that is side by side on this. And again, if you don't love the pendant, that's totally okay, right? I'm just showing you different ways to use the cup chain and some different uses for maybe some other items that you've got just laying around. For instance, the round part of our pendant, I'm using a solid ring. This is from Beaded as well. And you can buy these in a package of several different ones, and you can see it has that texture on it. But if you don't have one of these, you can use a link from some larger chain, right? If you've got some large link chain, there is some really awesome large link chain that is over on Jesse James Beads, and I like to use those larger links for my projects. But this one you can buy, it's not a chain, it's just flat out a ring, and you can get these over on Beaded. And you can also get the quick links that come in the plain and then the diamond cut with that really pretty kind of metal cutting in it that just really lets it catch the light. So use things like this. If you've got pieces of chain laying around where you cut it off, but you don't have enough to make a full piece of jewelry, cut up the links. If you don't have, you know, a solid ring or a quick link that you can use, and incorporate those into your jewelry. So that's really kind of the point of this whole thing. I'm going to show you how to wire wrap some of the ends of the cup chain. There's a couple of different ways that you can do it, but I'm going to show you one of the ways that you can do it, just so that you can work with a cup chain without the end findings, right? Because a lot of times when you buy a cup chain, it doesn't come with the little end findings. There is such a thing, right? And it just slips right on the last cup on each end of your cup chain, and you close down the prongs using some pliers. But if you don't have that and you do have lots of cup chain, you're kind of stumped with how to attach it. So if you don't want to glue it to something, I'm going to show you how to wire wrap the ends. And again, this is just one of many ways to do that. So let's get down on the mat. Let's look at the beads and let's get started. Oh, wait. I do have a good question here though. So Joan says, how big is that link? 25mm. I'm not sure. Let me double check and I will tell you. Always have my gauge handy for these kinds of questions. So this one is, let's see. Looks like a 29. That's kind of a weird measurement, right? That's odd. I don't know if it was supposed to be. I don't know. But yeah, it's a little bigger than a 25. But you know, you can use whatever millimeter you've got, right? The quick links come in different millimeter sizes, so that works. Any of those will work. The smaller ones for this project are probably going to be a little bit harder for you, but anything 25mm and up is good. All right, so let's get flipped around. The mat. Okay, so just showing you guys a piece of the flat artistic wire that we're going to be using. And so Suzanne wants to know, where can I get a gauge? You know what? I've had this one for a million years. I'm not really sure where I got this. It has the Beaded stamp on it, so I must have gotten it from Beaded. And as a matter of fact, Beaded carries the metal one, and they also have a plastic one that's blue. I like to stick the plastic one in my work bag of stuff that I carry around with me, and I keep the metal one at home. It's really, really handy. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so Yes, Meredith. Hi, Meredith, by the way. Meredith says, I'm always looking for ways to finish off cup chain. Me too. Me too. And there seems like there's so many different techniques that there's like not just one that works. You know, there's not just one way, just like everything else. There's no one way to do something. Okay, so with the flat artistic wire, this is the 5mm, and I've cut a piece that is really, really long, and we're not going to use all of this. The reason that I have cut a long piece is because I don't have an actual measurement on this, and it's a really one of those things where you can use as much or as little as you want to create this little piece here. So the measurement is really kind of up in the air. I can tell you for sure we're not going to use all of this, but it's better to start with more because you can never add on, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of flat artistic wire and we're going to take some cup chain, and I've got 2 pieces cut. And again, these are really, really long. I'm going to trim these off because we're only going to use about 7 or 8 of the actual cups as far as length is concerned. But these are going to lay side by side on our flat artistic wire, and we're going to wire wrap these to the artistic wire with some 24 gauge wire. You can use 24 gauge with this. You can use 26. You can even go up and use 22 if you want to. The 20, it starts to get a little bit bulky, but as far as smaller gauges, anything smaller than a 22 is going to be perfect for this. So I'm going to use a little section of this. I'm actually running out of all kinds of wire. I am running low. It's amazing how much wire I go through doing 2 and 3 Facebook Lives a week. It's absolutely unbelievable. Okay, backing you up just a little bit. I'm going to cut off a piece of 24 gauge wire and straighten this out just a little bit. So I'm going to come down on my piece of wire. We'll start at about half because we are going to cut some of this off, right? So we'll start about halfway on whatever size piece it is that you've cut. And what you want to do is you just want to, let's start down here. Give yourself a little bit of a tail, right? And hold that across the surface of that flat artistic wire, and then you just want to wire wrap it just like you would anything else, right? Going around and around. We're going to go around 3 or 4 times just to really anchor the wire on, okay? And I'm going to come to the back and trim that off, okay? Now, flipping it back over here to the front, before I move forward with this and start working on adding the cup chain to it, I do want to clean this up just a little bit. I'm going to give it a squeeze with my pliers just to line those wire wraps up nice and flat. And then I do want to come in with my nylon jaw pliers and just kind of bite down on it a little bit to really push that wire down to the surface of the artistic wire, right? That's really just going to kind of help make sure that everything is nice and flat. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to bring in our pieces of cup chain, and we're going to use the tail end, this long working end of our 24 gauge wire. We're going to use that to attach our cup chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just one piece of cup chain. I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to lay that first cup over the top of those wire wraps that we just made, okay? Bring that wire across, going between the first and second cup here. So just between this one where we started and this one right here. And before I go ahead and wire wrap to the back, I'm going to bring in a second piece. Okay, and I'm just going to slide that underneath that 24 gauge wire. Slide it on over so they're lined up. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that, take that 24 gauge wire onto the back just to secure those first 2 ends of your cup chain. Okay, so now we are going to continue that. I'm going to hold the cup chain flat up against the flat artistic wire with a finger. And actually I'm going to switch hands because it's easier for me to wire wrap with my right hand. Okay, using my left thumb just to hold those against the surface of that flat artistic wire. And then I'm going to use the 24 gauge wire. I'm going to go between the next 2 cups around the back, between the next 2 cups around the back. So I'm just doing 1 wire wrap for now, okay, just to initially get this secure on the wire. Just working my way down, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 cups of the cup chain, and I want to stop at 8 just because that's only as far as I want to go. Now you can keep going, right? You can do the rest of the cup chain onto the rest of your wire here. I'm actually going to cut some of this off. I'm going to cut off some of the cup chain as well. So I'm going to come in, and to cut your cup chain, you just want to hold it out and cut it between 2 of the little crystal cups. Okay. So now you'll notice that these last 2 are not necessarily wire wrapped on. They do have a little bit of movement. That's okay. I'm totally fine with that. Ah, hello, Miss Sarah. So Sarah says, what are we making today? I am just a pinch late. That's totally fine. We've actually just now kind of gotten started. So we are wire wrapping some of the cup chain onto some 5mm flat artistic wire, and we're going to create kind of a unique pendant that is just, I don't really have much of another word for it. It is definitely unique. So that's what we're going with. We're going with unique for this. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is, you notice I've still got a tail here. So I've still got plenty of that 24 gauge wire, okay? Don't trim that off yet. We're not done with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the link that I'm going to use, okay? And I want to slide it into place, right? So I've just moved it onto this flat artistic wire, okay? So I'm laying the edge of that link back behind where those first wraps on our flat artistic wire are, right? And now I'm going to take this back piece that doesn't have anything on it, and I want to bend it, okay? Bending it back so that we are creating this kind of shape, just this little hook situation. Now, if you don't want to use your link to do this, you can do this with a pair of small bell making pliers or your round nose pliers just to get a good bend in that flat artistic wire, okay? And then I want to kind of mash it down on the back, right? Close up those spaces, because now we're going to use that 24 gauge wire to wire wrap back up between the cups and attaching this back piece so that it doesn't open up on us. So let me just show you what the finished, it's not completely finished, but let me show you what it looks like, right? So we're going to use that 24 gauge to attach that back piece so that our link doesn't come out, okay? But before we do that, I want to come in and I want to trim off some of the flat artistic wire. And so, sorry, I was just double checking. What I want to do is I want to trim off on this top piece here, okay? A little bit further back. So notice what I'm doing with the cutter tool, okay? So I have everything is laying out nice and flat. I'm going to take my cutter tool and I'm going to actually push those back. You see how they popped back just a little bit, so that this front piece is going to be a little bit shorter than the actual cup chain that is hanging off the edge, right? Okay. Now the back piece, I want to trim it off too, but I want to trim it a little bit longer so that there's a little bit of a lip back here, because we're going to punch a hole through that, and we're going to actually add some dangles to this, because who doesn't love dangles? So I'm leaving myself just a tiny little bit of space, coming in with my cutter tool and trimming off that back piece. Now, one of the things that you'll notice about flat artistic wire is you can get it pretty flush if you're using a flush cutter to cut it. However, it may still have some sharp edges on it. So what you're going to want to do is, if you've got an emery board or you've got a metal file, you want to come in and just hit the edges of this just to kind of clean it up so that there's not any really sharp edges or little pieces, you know, just little burrs that are sticking up, okay? Now, before we do the wire wrapping, we're going to do one more thing. We're going to go ahead and punch the hole here. And the reason we're doing this now is because it takes a lot of pressure to punch the hole, and I don't want it to mess up the, I don't want it to mess up the shape of our flat artistic wire, right? So I would rather mash on it now than after we've actually gotten it secured with our 24 gauge wire. So I'm just using a metal punch, and you can see mine is a million bazillion years old. I don't even know what the millimeter is on this because it has been used so many times that it's rubbed off. Let's see, what does it say? Oh, it is on the back, 1.25 millimeters. So that's the size hole that we're going to punch. Whatever hole punch you've got, as long as you can clear it with a jump ring, you're good to go, okay? So you can see there's the little tip if you've never used a metal hole punch before, okay? And I'm just going to place that. I'm going to line that up on the center here, okay? So I'm going to have that hole. It's going to come down further than the cups there and just punch it through. And you can see it does take a little bit of strength, not a ton, but you did do some squeezing to get that on there. All right, so we've got a hole here, and this is on the back. And again, if you've got an emery board or a metal file, hit the edges of that because it does create some burr, little bird pieces. It doesn't on the front so much as it does on the back, so just hit that. Okay, so now we're ready to wire wrap the back of this so that we really have truly captured our ring here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, we came from the top down, now we're going to go from the down, or from from the bottom up, okay? And we're going to go through the first two, okay? And that's just on this top piece, okay? We haven't hooked our back piece yet. Now we're going to go all the way around the back piece, back up between the next two cups. Okay, you see what I'm doing? I'm capturing, as I'm going back up, I'm capturing this back piece of artistic wire, the flat artistic wire, okay? So you want to do that. You want to go up. You don't have to go all the way up your pendant if you don't want to. Just really kind of depends on how much tail of the wire you've got. I'm going to go one more, and then I'm going to come to the back. So you can see this is all secure here. This is not going to pop out of place. And now I'm just going to take the tail end of my wire, and to finish this off, I'm only going to wire wrap on this back section. So I'll kind of turn it this direction so you can see, just to finish it off kind of the way we started. This is all going to be back to the back, so you're never even going to see any of it. I'm going to pull this tight. Okay. Oops, let me grab some pliers. It kind of helps when you've got a shorter tail to use your pliers. Get a good grip on that wire. Do want to push it down against the surface of that flat artistic wire. Okay. We'll go around one more time, and then I'm going to trim it off. I feel like the glare is really bad. All right. One more time. Pull that tight, and then we're going to trim this off. Now, I'm actually going to try to get my cutter tool to the inside to make my cut, right? So that the tail end of that wire is away from your skin when you're wearing this. And again, just like where we started at the top, we want to come in with our pliers, and you want to squeeze those wraps close together. And if you can get your nylon pliers in there to squeeze it down, do that. But if you can't get the nylon jaw pliers in there, you can mash this down with some flat nose pliers or your chain nose pliers as well. Okay, so what we've created here, I'm actually going to use this direction, right? So this is going to be coming down, and we're going to hang dangles here, and then I'm going to hang some little floral tassels on either side of this to really kind of dress it up. We're going to put a bead here in the middle. However, if you see this and you think, you know what, it would look really cool this way, you're so right, okay? It would look so cool this way as well. Just using the flat artistic wire as a bail for threading it onto a piece of chain, a piece of leather, your bead stringing wire, whatever it is that you want, right? And now the solid ring on the bottom becomes the dangle portion of your pendant, and you can hang things off of that, right? So you can use this either way, and it would be really, really cool. And that beautiful cup chain really dresses it up. So whatever you do to it past this point is only going to just make it even more over the top and great, right? However you use this. Okay. Also, just a quick note, if you don't want to use it as a necklace, use your hole here and hook an ear wire to it, and you've got one really beautiful earring. Just make a matching, you know, do this with another one, and you've got a really beautiful set of earrings. Love it when that happens. Love it when I can show you a bunch of different ways to use something. All right, so like I said, ours is going to go this way. So what we're going to do is, let's see, let's start with the dangles on the bottom here, shall we? We're going to use some 22 gauge wire, and I've got these beautiful little beads from that Close to My Heart mix from Jessie James Beads, part of the Galentine's Day collection. So I've got 3 of these really beautiful, real pale pink. They look really beautiful with the rosewater opal cup chain. They're very similar in color. So I'm going to use 3 of these. We're going to do just a little bundle of beads down here to hang down, and then we'll add some extra stuff to it as well. So we're going to do 3 knotted head pins, and then we're going to attach these with a jump ring. All right, so I'm just cutting 4 pieces of 22 gauge wire for this. And I didn't pre-cut because I had a really, really late night last night and an early start to my day. You guys, I have a one of my kiddos. A lot of you guys know I've got 3 kids, and 2 of them are teenagers. One of them is already an adult, which totally blows my mind. But my youngest, she will be 10 next week, and she has broken her big toe. And so we have been in and out of the orthopedic surgeon's office, and it's just kind of taken over my week. So I feel like I'm really far behind. So I apologize for not having pre-cut pieces here. All right, so I have come to the end of one of my pieces of wire, right at the very, very tip of the wire and the tip of the pliers, using my round nose pliers for this. I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to turn it right around a loop right over the top of the pliers. Now I'm going to do a second one right underneath that one, not taking it off the tool. And I want to stop wrapping when I see the flush cut of the wire, right where I see the end of that wire. Now, before you take this off of the tool, take your tail end and bend it out this direction. Okay, now you can take it off of your pliers. Let me move this out of the way. And you're going to take the tail end of your wire, and you're going to go back through the 2 little loops that you made, and you're creating this funny little shape. Okay, come in with your nylon jaw pliers, and you want those 2 wraps that you created to be right up against the surface of your nylon jaw pliers. And you want to take the tail end of your wire with another pair of pliers and pull it through. Pull tight. You're going to create this knot that looks like a little flower rosette, if you will. And now you're ready to thread on one of your beads. Now, if these are smaller beads, okay, if you think that the knot is too big for this bead, right? Because some people don't like all that extra metal, totally fine. You can do the exact same head pin technique with a 24 gauge wire instead of the 22, and that's going to make your knot down here on the bottom just a little bit smaller, okay? Totally up to you. It works the same with any size wire that you use. Now we're just going to do a wrapped loop at the top. I'm grabbing that wire right where it is exiting the bead, and I'm going to bend that wire 90 degrees over the top of the pliers. So when I take the pliers away, I've got a little bit of space here. That's the perfect place for my round nose pliers to fit. I'm going to take that wire and go up and over the top barrel of the pliers, adjust my grip so that I can bring that wire on around. And now I'm going to switch hands and do the wire wrap. Going around 3 times, straighten everything up, okay? Take it off of the tool, and then I'm going to trim off the tail end of the wire. We're going to do this 2 more times. I wanted to walk through that one nice and slow for those of you who are just now joining us or are just now learning how to do the wrapped loops. The next 2 I'm going to speed through just so that we can get to the next part. So same thing, round nose pliers, going around the tip of the pliers twice, stop where we started, bend the wire out, off of the tool, back through, nylon jaw pliers in. You guys are cracking me up. Rachel says she must have only been 12 when she had her firstborn. You are making my day, let me tell you. I tell people, so my oldest, he just turned 18, like totally blows my mind. I tell people that we grew up together because I did have him when I was really young. My husband and I got married when we were very young, and we had our son right away. And I did not know the first thing about babies. I didn't know the first thing about being an adult. I didn't know anything, to be honest with you. So my son and I have grown up together in a sense. All right, grabbing that wire, bending 90 degrees, up and over. And I also refuse to say that I'm old. Like, I'm not old. I will never, even when I am like 80, I'm never going to admit that I'm old. So you'll never hear me say that. All right, wrapped loop, trimming off the tail. And one more. This one I really am going to speed through. Okay. Do you guys remember in Gone with the Wind when she was like, I don't know nothing about raising no babies? That's how I was. And I sounded exactly like that too. That Southern in me, that's exactly, I didn't know nothing about raising no babies, that's for sure. But I learned quickly. All right. All right. And I must have liked it because I went on to have 2 more, right? Either that or I was like, well, I really messed up the first one. Let's try again. They just get progressively better, right? Okay, so one of them is listening, which I think is hysterical. He's in the other room. He can hear me. Okay, so we've got our 3 beads here. And now we're going to create just a little bundle to hang from the bottom of our pendant. Let me bring everything back in so you can kind of get an idea of what we're doing. And I'm going to open up a 6mm jump ring. I'm going to thread one of these on. Okay, and then I'm going to close that back. Don't use your fingers. I almost did. Use proper technique. Use your jump ring, or use your pliers. Don't cheat just because you're in a hurry. We talked all about that on Monday. All right, so I'm going to bring in another one. Okay, and I'm going to loop it through. Right, and now we're going in the opposite direction. So the next 2 beads that I add are going to hang on either side. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. Okay. So now when you add your beads to this, you've got this little triangle where they're hanging. So all 3 beads have their own space. And the way to achieve that is by using a second jump ring for that. Okay. All right, now we do want to add this to the bottom of our pendant that we've created, and I'm going to use a 4mm jump ring for this. You can use a 6 if you want to, but I'm grabbing a 4 just because I feel like there's already a lot of space and dangle going on here. And the only thing is that when you're using the 4, is that it may be a little tricky to hook it, right? So I recommend going from the back because it is kind of hard to see from the front, because you've got those cup chain pieces in the way. Okay, so there's the 4mm jump ring attached to the hoop or the loop that we made. Loop, it's a hole, you guys. The hole that we punched. My gosh, it is definitely a Friday, isn't it? And now we're going to hook on our little beaded dangles, and we're going to close that 4mm jump ring back. And we're working in a very small amount of space. Again, that is because we're using a 4mm jump ring. So this might be a little bit of a struggle here. You know what? Let's go ahead and close the 4mm jump ring just to keep my fingers out of the way. Okay. And then we'll open up this top jump ring and thread it on. I don't like to open and close jump rings more times than you need to, but sometimes in situations where you're working in a really small amount of space, you don't really have much of a choice. It's just going to be easier here to loop that through the 4mm instead of trying to loop the 4mm through that. All right, so now when we lay this out flat, there is our pendant in progress, right? Okay, we're still not done because I want to make this extra. I'm all about adding extra stuff to this. So let's add a bead here in the center. We're going to use another one of the beads from the Jesse James Beads, the Close to My Heart. I don't know why I cannot keep that in my mind. I can't remember it. But so another one of those beautiful rose, real pale rose colored beads. We're going to use it, and we're going to use 2 of the beautiful bead caps. Oh my gosh, that I just threw in the floor. Luckily for me, I have another one on hand. So we're going to put the bead caps on this just to bring that metal color down into the center some. And we're going to create another one of our knotted head pins to hang this. We're going to hang it here in the center. So again, just going to speed through the knotted head pin part. If you guys need to see it again, you know you can watch the replay as many times as you need to, which is the great thing about Facebook Live, right? So Ricky wants to know, where can you find the hole punch? The hole punch you can get, there are hole punches over on Beadalon's website. You can also get them on Amazon, anywhere that you can buy metal, right? Whether it's sheet metal or flat artistic wire, any kind of jewelry making metals, usually you can find the hole punches, and they come in different sizes. Mine is 1,000,000 years old. I've not replaced it because it just continues to work. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? All right, so there's our knotted head pin. I'm going to thread on our bead cap, our bead, and another bead cap. So the bead caps really just kind of dress up our bead a little bit, make it a little extra special, right? Brings that metal down into the center of our pendant as well. I'm going to do a wrapped loop here, and then we're just going to use a series of jump rings to attach this to our pendant. And last but not least, we're going to add some floral tassels to this because why not? That's my answer to everything. Why not, right? You want to add tassels to that? Yeah, why not? You want to add some sparkle to that? Sure, let's do it. More is more, and less is a bore. All right, so bringing in some more 6mm jump rings. Okay, I'm going to open a 6mm jump ring. If I could keep my pliers where I could get to them, that would be great. I'm going to thread that on here. And then I'm going to thread this through our solid ring before I close the jump ring back. Okay. And I'm going to add another 6mm jump ring to that jump ring just to give ourselves a little bit of space for when we add this to the necklace portion of our project. Okay. Go ahead and close that back. So I'm going to actually open that jump ring. You know what? I think I added one too many jump. Well, we'll figure it out in just a minute. So this is what we've got so far, right? And we're going to add our little tassels to this just because they're beautiful. So I've got 2 floral tassels in pink. These came in the bead mix with the beads. And then I also have 2 kind of cream colored ones that are also from Jessie James Beads that I just had on hand. They were just extras. And I'm going to add those as well just to really dress this up, right? It very much reminds me of like a flamingo now that we're kind of getting down to what it's actually going to look like. Oh, Kathy has a good question. Kathy says, is the large gold ring thick enough or wide enough to punch holes with? Yes, it is wide enough. I don't know if it's wide enough for this in particular. Let's see. So you might want to go down a little bit. This one is, let's see, a 1.25 millimeter. You probably want to go down to a little bit smaller of a punch, but you absolutely could punch a hole in this ring for sure. Okay, so we're going to add our tassels. We're just going to add those with some more jump rings because they do have loops on the top of them, but they're not quite big enough to clear the edge of the solid ring that we're using here, and I don't want to make them too tight. So we are going to use some more jump rings for this. And they're really just going to kind of disappear into the piece. You really won't even notice them. So I don't have much of a problem with it. You are most welcome, Kathy. It is not a problem. That's what I'm here for, you guys. Ask me whatever questions you've got. And speaking of asking questions, so we're just opening and closing jump rings here, just threading these on next to our flat artistic wire. Speaking of questions, if you guys are just now coming and hanging out with us, I have started a new Facebook Live series that happens on Mondays at 4 p.m. That's Eastern Time. And it is kind of a jewelry making 101. You send me your jewelry making questions via Facebook, whether we are friends on Facebook or you can send them directly to Sarah Ellis Designs. I do have a little inbox here on the Facebook page. And send me your questions, your jewelry making questions. Last Monday, earlier this week, we talked about jump rings. That was a really good thing that we talked about. And we talked about different kinds of wire. I just closed that jump ring without putting anything on it. We talked about artistic wire versus German style wire and aluminum craft wire, what the differences in all of those are. So if you've got questions about jewelry making, send them to me. Tell me at the very top of the message that it's for the Monday Q&A session, and I am making a list. I will get to everybody's questions. I think on Monday of this next week coming up, we're going to be talking about bead stringing wire because it is different than your German style wires and your artistic wires, and we're going to be talking about crimping, proper crimping technique, the different kinds of crimps that there are, and whatever other question we've got time for. All right, so laying this down flat so you can see what we've got. So I'm really just kind of dressing this up and making it really spectacular. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add this because our pendant for the most part is done, right? All we need to do now at this point is just add it to whatever length we want to add this to. And I have chosen to use some gold chain, and I've also got a piece, and mine is already attached here. I'm going to go ahead and attach this, and then I'm going to show you how to wire wrap the cup chain, okay? Just to kind of save a little bit of time. So the necklace will actually be finished, but we will wire wrap some cup chain. So just to give you kind of an idea of how this is going to go. So I have my regular gold chain. This is just rolo chain. I'm going to attach it to this top jump ring. And then we have this extra piece of cup chain that is draping across to add just kind of an extra tier, if you will, to our necklace. And it is wire wrapped, I'll show you in just a second, to I've made wire wrapped loops on the end and then added 4mm jump rings and then thread those on to our piece of chain, right? So we kind of have a two-tiered design here, and when I put this on a bust, you'll be able to see it much better than obviously the way that it is laying down. So the necklace for the most part is complete, but I do want to show you the step to wire wrapping the end of the cup chain. You can see how I've got a wire wrapped loop there on the end. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. We're just going to do it on a practice piece of our cup chain, and then you can take that and apply it to the necklace. I did this to both ends. Now this is in exchange for using actual cup chain ends, because like I mentioned, there is a finding that is specifically designed for your cup chain where you just slide this last cup down into it, close the prongs, and it's got a loop for you. So that's already something that you can use. You just buy those extra with your cup chain. You just want to be sure that you buy the right size that will fit your cup chain, okay? But if you don't, and you just buy beautiful cup chain, say you're out and you're shopping and you find beautiful cup chain, or you find beautiful cup chain over on Jesse James Beads and you don't have the end findings, then this wire wrap technique can be used. There's a couple, but I'm going to show you just one. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. We'll put this on a bust. I'll show it to you here in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and wire wrap some cup chain just so you can see how I do it. One of the ways that I do it. Okay, so a lot of times I like to use 24 gauge wire with this just because I feel like it's a little bit smaller. It doesn't take over the cup chain, because we are going through between the two first and last, I mean, not first and last, I'm sorry, second from the end and last cup on your cup chain. So I'm using a piece of 24 gauge wire. You don't need nearly as much as I have here. I'm going to lay that across that metal piece. You see the metal piece that runs between the two cups, laying that across the top of that, okay? And then I'm going to take my working end and wrap it all the way around. Okay, so I wrapped it all the way around. It's kind of hard to see because of the way that I did it. And I'm going to do that twice. Okay. So now I'm going to come back to the back. So I'll show you. I'll show you what I got here. So when you're looking at it from the back, this is what it looks like. Okay. I've wrapped twice around. I've got my tail end here. I'm going to bring it to the back and I'm going to trim it off because we don't need it. Right? Okay. You can come in with your pliers and push down on that to make sure that it's not sticking up. And the wire is coming at an angle, see? Because of the way that it is wire wrapped. It's coming up across the back of that first cup on the cup chain at an angle. That's totally fine. Okay, we're going to treat it as if it's not. We're going to treat it as if it is coming straight up and down. In fact, if you want to come in with your pliers and grab that wire and kind of give it a nice little bend so that it appears to be coming out of the top of the cup when you turn it over, right? You just kind of want that coming out through the middle. Okay, flip it back over to the front so that you're looking at it this direction. Forget what the back of that looks like. It doesn't matter anyway because nobody's ever going to see it, right? It's not going to be pretty. I'm not going to lie. The back of this is not, the way this is done, the back of this is not pretty. There's just no way around it. Just going to treat this just like I would any other bead, okay? So I'm grabbing that wire right at the top of the cup, not way back down here at the wraps, but at the very, very top of the cup, okay? I'm going to bend the wire out this direction, take my pliers away. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, and I like to keep the loop nice and small. Okay, coming on around. And we're just going to wire wrap just like you normally would, but then at the end, I'm going to show you how to secure this. So I've got enough room over the top of the cup here to get the wire wrap around about 3 times. And then we're meeting right at the top of our cup piece, right? Okay. So now taking it off the tool, I've still got plenty of tail, way more tail than you'll ever need. Flip it over here and look at it for once. Look at it from the side just so that you can see. It's not attached, right? You can see I can move that cup. There's still a straight piece of wire right in here, right? That's just where our cup is laying flat up against that wire, but we have movement here, and where there's movement, there's possibility for bad things to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the tail, just like we were doing, okay? Except now we're going to come down. So I'm going across the back, okay? And I'm just going to take the tail and wrap between that first and second cup, just like we did. I'm going right over the top of the 2 wraps that I already made. That's why the 24 gauge is really going to be your go-to for this, because you are wrapping over wraps that you've already made, okay? Now come to the back and trim that off. And again, on the back, it's not pretty. This technique is ideal for things where the cup chain is going to be laying flat, so that you are not going to see the back no matter what. From the front, it just looks like it's just got a pretty wraps loop at the top of it. But when you flip it over on the back, that's not exactly the prettiest thing you've ever seen, right? But it's functional and it lays nice and flat, which is good. So again, just come in, tuck everything down. Actually, wire wrapped that going the wrong direction. All right, we're going to do this one more time on the other end, because I don't know if you can see or not, but it was supposed to go the other direction across the wire that was going. So like your wires on the back of that cup are supposed to go this way, and I was chatting and mine are both going the same direction. So it's really not as secure as I wanted it to be. I'll have to undo that. Let's do it one more time over here on the other. Sarah says we should make t-shirts with Sarah Ellis design quotes. I wonder what those would say. I can only imagine. I know one of them would be, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so let's do it again, just so that I can show you, and then I will let you guys go for the day, okay? So going right between the 2 of those. Oh my gosh. I'm scared to know what those shirts would say. I'm going to wrap around a second time, bringing that wire to the back of the cup. Okay, coming up at an angle. We're going to go ahead and trim off this tail just to get it out of the way. Oh, I'm thinking about all the silly things that I have ever said on Facebook Lives. You guys, it could be, oh man. Yesterday, I told everybody I was wearing pants. Okay, really? I'm always wearing pants. That's just silly. And all the dad jokes. Okay, so going across, right, at an angle, we're going to come in with our chain nose pliers, kind of bend that wire so that it is more going straight up and down, coming so that it looks like it's coming out of the top of that cup when we bring it around to the front. Okay, let's wire wrap again, grabbing the wire right at the tip. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, goodness. Bringing it on around. Okay. I'm trying to be a professional, and I tell you guys I have on pants. Really? Like, I say things and then Facebook Live is over and I'm like, did I really do that? What was I thinking? I'm supposed to be a professional. Okay, so there's the wire wrap. Now I'm going to come back around here to the back and show you where I messed up the first time. So that one wire is going at an angle this direction, so we want this one to come across it, right? No, we don't. We want it to go this way. So we've got a little triangle. See the triangle? It doesn't necessarily make an X. I apologize. I told you that wrong. It makes an X, and then you wrap across the 2 wraps that you already made. Okay? And then you trim that off. Come in with your pliers and just mash everything down. Don't mash so hard that you're messing up your crystal on the front, of course. Sounds like my son is destroying his room. Okay, so now this is what you've got on the back. It's still not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, right? But it is functional, and you have the extra security of that triangle shape instead of just one wire that has the ability to go back and forth like this, right? Any movement that's going to happen to that 24 gauge wire, anything that were to happen, if it were to get caught on your clothing and bend at a 90-degree angle just right over and over again, that would definitely weaken that wire in a spot where it is going to eventually snap. But now that you've got the triangle here, you've got some added insurance when it comes to your smaller gauge wires, which is what I recommend using for this. So from the front, looks great. You can take your jump rings now, or you can wire wrap directly onto this, and you could, you know, go wherever you wanted to with this up until, you know, or you get to this point. Now you can take it anywhere you want is what I'm trying to say. Sorry. All right. See, Joan says, it was yesterday. It was 1 o'clock yesterday when I realized I was still in my pajamas. See, I'm not the only one. So when I say I have on pants, more than likely, I mean I have on pajama pants. That's what I mean. But I am dressed. I am fully dressed. Wow, things get really weird here, you guys. All right, so that's just one example of a way that you can, you know, do a wrapped loop on your cup chain if you wanted to. Karen says, couldn't you hide that with a crimp cover? I'm not sure that you would have enough room to get a crimp cover in here, but you certainly could try. With some of your bigger cup chain where the spacing in between your cups is a little bit larger, you probably could get a small crimp cover in between there if you wanted to. So yeah, that's definitely something you should give it a try and see if it works. Like I said, there are a million different ways to finish off the ends of your cup chain. This is just one of the ways that I do it occasionally. This is not my favorite way, but it is one of the ways that you can do it, and I do like that you have the extra security on the back. But again, this doesn't necessarily work in a piece where it's going to be hanging and it has the ability to flip over where somebody could see the back of this. So if this were laying across a tassel or something like that, this is going to be the perfect way to finish off your cup chain without the cup chain findings. Okay. And I can always show you guys more ways to end your cup chain. Like I said, just one. All right, so bringing in the necklace that we did, just to show you guys, that's how I have it attached to, to the necklace here, or the pieces of chain rather. I'm going to put this on a bust, and I'm going to put this up. I'm going to fix the cameras. Oh, sorry, so that you guys can see how this hangs as like a two-tiered kind of necklace. So I feel like a lot of times people don't use cup chain and necklaces, and I love to have cup chain on a necklace. Sorry, I know you guys are looking at absolutely nothing at the moment. Give me just a second. Just trying to get everything fixed here. Oh, what a weird Facebook Live. Good project, weird conversations. Right? That's what makes it fun. All right, well, I can't get it tight. All right, you know what? I'm gonna flip you guys around. You're so right. Karen says she's pretty sure that nobody is looking that close to the back of the cup chain. That's really true. So, oh gosh, I thought you were gonna fall on the floor. It's spring-loaded, this tripod. Wow. Yes, Betty, I'm grabbing a bust. You guys, I love you guys so much. You put up with my silliness and just bring it right on with me. I love it. It's great. Okay, so I'm trying to straighten this out so you guys can see it. What was I saying? Yeah, there's, I think it's, what is it? Is it a 10-foot rule or a 12-foot rule or 12 steps back? If you're standing 12 steps back from somebody and you can't see, you know, those little things in their jewelry, then you're good to go. And like I've always said, if somebody is that close to you, they're not looking at your jewelry. Just saying. See, it's just weird here. I'm fired. I know it. Today I just lost my job. Okay, so I have it all twisted around, and I cannot seem to get it untwisted from where I had it. I'm not fired. I'm the boss. I'm the boss on Sarah Ellis. But now that doesn't mean that, you know, the rest of my bosses out there are like, whoa. Okay, I'm just going to tie this up no matter what it looks like, and we're going to talk about it because you guys have waited way long enough to see the end result of this necklace, and it's really, really pretty. Oh gosh. So again, just a friendly reminder in case you have forgotten while I am struggling with putting this on the bust. Send me your questions, you guys. Don't forget question and answer sessions on Monday. If I don't get to your question this Monday, I have created a list and we're going to work through that list. I have made a hot mess out of this, you guys. All right, there. It's not perfect, but it's better. Really, all I want you to see is the pendant itself as it is. So my cup chain is twisted. I need to untwist it. That's what I was trying to do. But flipping everything around here so that it is actually showing. So here is our glitzy kind of flamingo pendant, if you will. Don't forget, you can take this whole concept with the flat artistic wire and the cup chain and put it on the top, right? Use it as a bail instead of the length for your pendant. This is just such... Thanks, Kathy. So there we go. I don't even know what I was saying, you guys. I'm so off track. It's just crazy business. Okay, but the cup chain... Okay, I added this to the necklace, and before it got all twisted and I can't seem to get it to lay flat, it will lay flat. I just need to mess with it a little bit, and it is backwards. You can see now I'm just showing the cups, but that cup chain comes across the front and hangs down this direction. And I didn't use a full piece of the cup chain going up either side of the rolo chain because I didn't want the two pieces of chain, oddly enough, to get twisted with each other. So I used a shorter piece of the cup chain to keep that from happening. It never fails when you have on a necklace that has more than one strand and the strands come all the way to the back. As you're going throughout the day, those strands tend to twist and create really terrible knots, sort of like what I have here as an example. So when you shorten it up and you make your tiers, your different layers of your necklace come further down where they're not getting movement up here on your neck. You move your head so much more than I think you realize throughout the day. It's really going to keep everything separated and things are not going to get twisted and turn into a hot mess. So there you go. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. It has been, it's been a fun project. It always is. I'm always happy to see you guys on Fridays. It's the best way to end my week. I am headed out the door to run a couple of errands, and this day, I wish I had about 10 more hours to get everything in this day on top of the hours that are left. I need it for sure. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon this Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Anybody who's watching the Titans and Chiefs game on Saturday, I'll probably be posting about it on Facebook because, you know, I'm a Chiefs nuthead. Monday, send me your questions for question and answers on Monday, and we will get down and dirty on bead stringing wire. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys here again next week.